We're going to be checking out some oddities of the U.S. geography. I hope you guys had an amazing Christmas. You guys can let me know what you got in the comment section or what you did over Christmas down below. Yeah, let's do this to check out these oddities.
Howdy, it's Kyle with another installment of Oddities of U.S. Geography, where I'll be examining some interesting quirks and features of the geography of the U.S. and a little bit of Canada as well. So with a landmass as large of the U.S., there's bound to be some pretty interesting things.
Right, let's see.
Some of these are well known, and you may have heard of some of this stuff, and some other ones I wasn't aware of until I read about them in the comment section in my other video in this series, and some other ones still, this might be the first time you're hearing about them, but let's get started with some of this weird stuff about the U.S.
Right, I'm ready.
I want to talk about Crater Lake, Oregon, and just how incredibly deep it is. It has a maximum depth of 1,949 feet, which makes it the deepest lake in the U.S. and the 9th deepest lake in the world. It has an average depth of 1,148 feet.
It seems like small. Or is that because I'm looking at the map? Is this a big lake or small? It seems pretty like small for that deep. Well, actually, no. When I'm looking like this. Okay.
949 feet, which makes it the deepest lake in the U.S. and the 9th deepest lake in the world. It has an average depth of 1,148 feet, which makes it the 3rd deepest lake in the world in terms of average depth.
Oh, wow.
And that's all very impressive. But what makes it even more impressive is that it's not really that big of a lake. It's not even...
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I thought it was a bit... Bro, this is beautiful, though. Bro, was this made by, like, some meteor, like, coming from the sky or something? Oh, there might be a... Wait, yeah, how was this made?
One of the top 100 lakes in the U.S. in terms of area, and there are literally thousands of lakes worldwide larger than Crater Lake.
Wow.
But because the surface area isn't huge while being one of the deepest lakes, it has the highest depth to area ratio of any lake in the world. And also, this happens to be a beautiful national park.
Oh, it's stunning.
Next, I want to discuss how the Mississippi River's meandering has caused some pretty interesting situations in terms of state boundaries. Water is very powerful, but it's also pretty lazy. It wants the path of least resistance. So if a river can get to where it's going by using an easier path, it will change course, and a meander might leave a piece of the old river behind as an Oxbow Lake. And how that affects state borders is that many of the borders were determined to be the river itself. However,
wait, really?
Changed course.
Wait, so the borders are the rivers, and the river's just like, yo, you know what? I'm changing, bro. I'm changing. Mad.
Portions of a state that were supposed to be east of the river are now west of the river.
Oh, what?
There are far too many of these to mention in the video, but most of them are around the Memphis, Tennessee area, southeastern Arkansas, northwestern Mississippi, or northeastern Louisiana.
How strange.
The largest of these oxbows is just south of Vicksburg, Mississippi. And perhaps the strangest one is Fulton County, Kentucky, which is the southwestern corner of the state.
Wait, with that lake, then, did they actually change the borders? Like, they still would say, like, north or west or south or north, you know, of the river? Or did they just leave the border where the dotted lines are?
This small part of the state is completely cut off from the rest of Kentucky, and the only way to get there by road is from Tennessee. Another very interesting oxbow is Carter Lake, Iowa. It's right in the middle of the Omaha, Nebraska metropolitan area, and it sits directly adjacent to the Omaha airport. If you look at this aerial photograph, the portions to the right of the airport, which is just west of the airport, is the town of Carter Lake. But a major difference between this one and the Mississippi River oxbows is that those take a long time to create. Those were years and years of meandering and erosion. The one around Carter Lake occurred from one big flood.
Oh, wow.
And take a look at this welcome sign.
That was from a flood.
This is a really cool sign. If your town is an oxbow, you might as well have a welcome sign like this. And staying in Iowa, it's the only state in the country where the entirety of its eastern border and the entirety of its western border is a river.
Yo, that's weird. That it's kind of cool, though.
A lot of the borders with states, but most also have another type of border, maybe a line of longitude or a mountain crest or something like that. But for Iowa, 2 of its borders are completely rivers.
Interesting.
Another small one about Iowa, it's the only state in the country where its state abbreviation is 2 vowels. Another spot that's cut off from the rest of its state is the Lost Peninsula in Michigan. This is a small piece of land that is only accessible by road from Ohio.
Wait.
Michigan and Ohio fought to see who would get this area around Toledo. Eventually, it was decided by the courts.
Oh, down about this island here. So this is the road here. I kind of like these islands like this. So I ain't gonna lie, bro. I think they're cool.
To use a line of latitude, and This little piece of the peninsula was north of that line of latitude that the Supreme Court drew, and now it's part of Michigan. And Michigan losing this battle is probably why they're still so bitter about Ohio. In terms of what state a city lies in, there's nothing stranger than Texarkana, Texas, and Arkansas.
Why?
This is effectively one city in which portions of it are in each of the two states.
And
this is not the same thing as Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas. Those are two completely different cities, completely different jurisdictions.
Interesting.
Although each half of Texarkana had its own mayor and city council, they do...
Wait, that is pretty cool. So is this actually the line, or is this just like a, you know, just showing? So you got Texas and Arkansas, and the city is sharing both?
Share a lot of city services, and the courthouse and the post office are right along the state line, and there's only one for the two of them.
Oh, wow.
And something else interesting about that is if you live in Texarkana,
wait, how would, like, because I've learned that, like, Texas is based on different states and stuff. How would it work with, you know, how there's only one of the post office or whatever? How would that work with both states? Do you know what I'm saying? Or does it just choose one? Right? They just choose one, and yeah, how does that work?
Arkansas, you don't pay state income taxes as if you lived on the Texas side. So it's the only city in the country that is located within two states.
Wow, interesting.
Another interesting one about Arkansas is that it borders 6 states, and you can drive due south from Arkansas into all 6 of the states that it borders. So you can see how the boot heel of Missouri kind of juts to the south.
Wait, yeah, that's mad actually, from Clay to Missouri. I'm struggling to say it. And then from oh bro, these names are you gonna like Blivyville, Blivville to Tennessee, Helena to Mississippi, Ashdown to Texas, Bentonville to these names, bro. Oklahoma.
West. And how the northwestern portion of the state...
Yo, my pronunciation for these names, 10 out of 10.
...has a slanted border with Oklahoma, so you can drive south from there, too.
Well,
for this next one, I want to give credit to Alvin, who commented in my other video about oddities. You can drive from Scottsbluff, Nebraska, to Savannah, Georgia, which is over 1,700 miles, and only have to pass through Missouri and Tennessee to get there.
What? So you go from one state past 2 states to another state, and it takes 27. Bro, America is massive, bro. America is massive. 27 hours. Bro, listen. I asked this before, but I want an updated version. What's the longest? I've asked how many miles have you guys drove before in, like, at one time? Like, you obviously can sleep, right? But like, how many hours? What's the longest hours you've ever drove in one period where, like, the only time when you're not driving is when you're sleeping? Do you know what I mean?
There. So if you live in
like a trip,
you can say, we don't live that far from the Atlantic Ocean.
Mad.
We're only 3 states away.
I actually think my longest drive ever was not even me driving. I was in a coach, and it was 4 hours. Me driving is about 2 hours, 30 minutes, maybe 3 hours.
Another interesting quirk about Tennessee and Georgia is something that I see all the time. To drive from Chattanooga to Nashville along I-24, you have to go through a small part of Georgia to do it.
Okay.
It's the only place in the U.S. where you drive from one portion of a state to another along the interstate, but you have to go through another state to do it.
Oh, wow. What?
And something else interesting about that is that
weird.
When you cross over into Georgia, it keeps the Tennessee mile markers. Usually when you get to a state line, the mile markers will start over for that new state, but because it's such a small portion of Georgia you drive through, it keeps the Tennessee mile markers. Another one about Georgia is Savannah along the coast is actually south of Tijuana, Mexico. So if you draw a line of latitude from Tijuana all the way east across the U.S., you'll end up right around Hilton Head Island, South Carolina.
Yo, that's actually mad when you think about it.
Tijuana is San Diego.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love, like, places where it's, like, closed in by mountains.
And San Diego has an average high temperature in June of 71 degrees. Which just happens to be the same average high temperature in June for Fairbanks, Alaska. Fairbanks does get pretty warm during the summertime, and temperatures in the 80s can be pretty common. It's just so far away from the moderating effects of the ocean, and the sun is shining just all the time in June and July.
So, wait, and that's in Alaska? Wait, am I tripping?
21 degrees. which just happens to be the same average high temperature in June for Fairbanks, Alaska. Fairbanks does get pretty warm during the summertime, and temperatures in the 80s can
I thought because how North Alaska is, it's just always cold.
Pretty common. It's just so far away from the moderating effects of the ocean, and the sun is shining just all the time in June and July. So yeah, it's just as warm as San Diego in June and July, but in January, it's just a little bit different.
Bro, wait, why am I thinking Alaska? Like, where have I got that from then? Why was I thinking Alaska's always cold and snowing?
Another interesting climate quirk is that Seattle, regardless of how far north it is, averages only 5 inches of snow per year.
Oh, wow.
And compare that to, say, Nashville or Winston-Salem, North Carolina, which average 6 inches of snow per year.
Man, I really wish that we have a white Christmas, bro. Like, we just don't get it no more. We didn't get it this year. Like, we just don't get it.
You might be thinking, well, because it rains so much, but it does rain a lot, but the amount of rain in Seattle really isn't that much. It only rains about 38 inches a year there. And where I live, again in Chattanooga, it averages, I wonder what UK is. 3 inches of rain per year. Okay. So a lot of cloudy days in Seattle during the winter, but it's mostly kind of drizzly and light rain and very rarely snow.
Oh, nice, man.
An oddity about time zones is that portions of eastern Oregon are in the mountain time zone, and portions of the Florida panhandle are in the central time zone, which means there's only a 1 hour time difference between that portion of Oregon and that portion of Florida.
Interesting.
And that's the farthest distance in the contiguous U.S. you can be to be only a 1 hour time difference apart.
Mad.
An odd relationship between cities and counties is New York City. New York is the only city in the country where the city government supersedes county governments. Each of the 5 boroughs of New York City is its own county. Manhattan is
at this point, it's using you guys gonna have to explain that one to me in the comment section because I'm not really understanding the words here. I ain't gonna lie, bro.
County. Bronx is Bronx County. Queens is Queens County. Brooklyn is Kings County. And Staten Island is Richmond County.
What does that mean?
I think it would have been cool if Brooklyn would have kept the name Kings, so it would have been Kings and Queens, but either way, New York is the only city like this. For this next oddity, I want to thank commenters Mr. Flibble and Marty who posted this in my other video about oddities. If you start in Stamford or Greenwich, Connecticut, and head due north, due south, due east, or due west, the first state line you're going to get to in all directions is New York. I had to look at the map.
Wait, how? If you start here, you go south, you're in New York. If you go north, you're in New York. Wait, where's New York? Wait, no, you're not. How are you in New York from north? It's in New York. West New York. East. I suppose because you come out of here. Boom.
The first state line you're going to get to in all directions is New York.
Wait, how? I'm trying to work out how north. Is that New York here? I'm tripping.
Due west, the first state line you're going to get to in all directions is New York. I had to look at the map for this one, but it's because these two towns are located in that little nub, which is the southwestern corner of the state.
Oh.
This next one has to do with the strange shape of Maryland, which I think is the weirdest shaped state in the country. The northern border for Maryland is a line of latitude, and the southern border of the panhandle of Maryland is the Potomac River. Nothing strange about that except for the fact that at one point they're only 1 mile apart from each other. So there's a tiny little portion of Maryland where it's only 1 mile wide, separating it from Pennsylvania and West Virginia. And somehow I-68 squeezes right in there, so I'm not sure how Maryland worked that one out, but it goes right there.
It works.
And here are a couple of quirks that the flat earth crowd aren't going to like. One.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. It's a flat earth, no way.
Is that the closest state to the African continent is not Florida, it's Maine. You can get from Maine to Morocco more quickly than you can get from Florida to Senegal. So look there, Maine and Morocco, you're not so far apart after all. Another one for the flat earth crowd,
you're still pretty far.
San Francisco and Indianapolis are both the same distance to Delhi, India.
Wait. Alright, so They're on different parts of the country. Okay.
San Francisco and Indianapolis are both the same distance to Delhi, India. They're both...
Wait, how? This one's 1 hour. Oh, is that just different flight patterns, but it's still the same distance?
Both about 7,600 miles to Delhi, but of course to fly there you would go in a different direction. Or another way of looking at it is that if you're in Denver, it's the same distance.
That's pretty cool, actually. From that way, it's the same distance as the other way, opposite way.
Delhi, whether you travel east or west. Now here are a couple of interesting geographical quirks about Canada. I want to thank commenter Richard for this one.
Some Canada ones.
The point in Canada is Point Pelee, which is about an hour south of Detroit or Windsor. There are more Americans that live north of this point than in all of Canada combined.
Huh? Okay, wait. So are we drawing a line here? So we're drawing a line right here. That's still mad though. I ain't gonna lie, because Canada's massive.
There are less than 40 million people that live in Canada, but there are more than 40 million Americans that live north of the southernmost point of Canada.
Mad.
Another oddity about Canada is just the sheer size and lack of population of Nunavut.
Yeah.
It's approximately 725,000 square miles or 1.9 million square kilometers. That's about the same size as Mexico. It's larger than Alaska and nearly 3 times the size of Texas.
Wow.
However, for this enormous area, there are only 36,000 people that live there.
Yo, that is actually crazy, bro. They must have, did they have land to themselves? I know the land, you just can't live there, right? It's got to be crazy. It's got, like, you've seen the map, it's all broken up and stuff. It's got to be mental, bro. But that's mad. 30,000 people in that big of a land?
You do the math, and the population density is 0.0 people per square kilometer or square mile.
Crazy.
Now, technically, it's 0.02 people per square kilometer or 0.05 people per square mile. But if you're using just one decimal place, it's 0.0 people per square kilometer or mile.
0.0 people. There's no one living there.
Central Australia looks like Toronto. And the last one that I wanted to mention isn't really an oddity. It's just kind of silly. There's a town in South Carolina called North. It was named after a guy named John North, so the town's name is North, South Carolina. Okay, that is going to just confuse the absolute hell out of me, bro. I'm going to go there, I'm going to be like, we've kind of gone to North Carolina instead of South. We should turn around. But really, my dodgy eyes have just seen North Carolina when it's North, South Carolina. Okay. And 100 miles away is a town called Due West. So one way of putting it is you can say North South Carolina is 100 miles southeast of Due West. What? North Carolina is 100 miles away from southeast west of Due West of east southwest north. What, bro? You just Carolina. You just trying to confuse me. So there you have it. Some more. You just trying to confuse me. US geography. I'll probably post a video like this. That was a good video. Make sure you go check him out. His link will be in the description. You guys did enjoy. Make sure you thumbs up, subscribe for more content. I'm live every single day on twitch.tv/LWG. If you guys want to check me out over there, I'll see you on the next one. Peace.